Welcome to my studio. Welcome to a painting discourse. This is a stream or video actually about my progress with this fragment from a larger painting that I'm working on. So those of you who watch this and saw previous videos, this is not really a so-called classic step-by-step instructional video about how to paint with oil or paint in general, or draw for that matter, or create a work of art on two-dimensional surface. This is more about showing you how much time and what kind of process goes through my mind personally when I'm creating or when I'm painting. It's actually a very good showcase of how many mistakes I do throughout the process. And I wouldn't even call them mistakes. These are just explorations, maybe, if I want to be a little bit more specific. Because I'm talking about these as mistakes, it might kind of push you away from picking up the brush or pencil or drawing media or any kind of other tools that support your creative process. And the idea is that, the kind of a overall feeling from what you see here in my studio is that it's not something that I wake up early morning, wake up afternoon, maybe after a hangover, push a couple brush strokes there and start selling paintings for hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not my reality that I live in, and that's not the reality for my studio, for my atelier either, and for that matter for my students as well. It's a really, really hard work. You come to a studio and you paint as much as possible. When it comes to preparation for the painting, there are, for me especially, it's that I take a couple hours before starting to paint to evaluate what happened in a day before, what I painted, what I like, what I dislike, what works, what doesn't work. That's kind of a first thing what happened when I get to studio. It's that I simply sit down and look at the painting, and I'm looking at it with a fresh eyes. Whatever I did yesterday, and I might like it, it will change morning. It might change, not necessarily have to, but it might change. Is that kind of a process when you're standing in front of your canvas or drawing paper, whatever medium you have, and you're staring at it, you kind of get biased to what you see, and you can't really judge it with kind of a fresh eye. That's why I also recommend you to step away from it for a bit, to look on something else, to give yourself a space to kind of take a rest from what you see, not necessarily from painting, but from what you see. And you might work maybe on another project, maybe on another painting, maybe do a little sketch. So you have that, you're still in the rhythm of working, but you're not working specifically on this. And I do this all the time. I can't really sit down and paint, I don't know, 8 hours and develop this part. That's not the way how I work. I'm not saying that's not a valid method. You definitely can paint that way, and I have seen, and I'm a fan of a lot of art that has been done that way. It's just simply not the way how my brain can process things, and it's not the way how I enjoy a painting. And this is probably the most important part to take from these streams and from this video, is that The moment when someone tells you that you have to paint this way and this is the only way how to paint, that's the first and the biggest and the most um, uh, obvious red flag for any kind of painting studio, because if that would be true, we wouldn't have any different painters, we wouldn't have a different styles, we wouldn't have a different eras. You know, we went from probably most famous is the Renaissance, and then Baroque, and so on and so forth, and then big break was in Impressionism, and then another kind of a big thing that happened was probably abstract art. So we know that there is not one method how to paint. I think it's an infinite number of methods how to paint. And if you want to paint, I don't know, with your fingers, paint with your fingers. I love to paint with my fingers. I have 10 of them, and you know, I like to use them, and they are, you know, basically for free. It's not for free, but you can use them all the time. So think of that as think of this actually as an experiment. And since this is experiment and you will be learning from my mistakes, I encourage you to just right now grab a piece of paper, canvas, or paints, whatever, and paint alongside with me. And if you have some questions, you can ask in the chat, and I might answer as many as possible, or as many as I know the answer to, or I will pretend that I know the answer to. And you should, everything what I'm saying, you should take into consideration and double check that. I make mistakes with my references. I make mistakes with the dates. It happens. I'm not a machine, so double check what I am talking about, just to make sure that you have that correct information. And I would recommend you to enter any kind of instructional video with this mindset. This is not, you probably won't be able to enjoy this just to sit and watch, because this is just, it's, you know, I'm applying dirt on the surface. So it's not that much to it. Of course, there are techniques, there are anatomy, there are, I don't know, the materials and whatnot. Yes, that's true, but there are some rules that you should follow, but there are more technical rules. So it's just you know, the paint does not chip off from your canvas. It's probably the only rule that I would follow. It's a fat over lean, and anything else for me goes. And it's not because I don't want to be kind of it's not necessarily because I want to make things difficult for restorators or conservators, or for museums, or for customers or patrons. It's because in order to express certain things, you sometimes need to kind of bend the rules a little bit, just to get across that feeling, or the information, or the thought, or I don't know, the overall idea. So my driving force is to communicate the clear message to a viewer, and I'm doing it by any technique that it's available to me, and my skill allows me to. So that's probably enough it's enough of an introduction. Let me quickly go over my setup. I have a palette, and I have my reference book, and I have my digital medium. I have my brushes, and I have my medium. So that's about it. It's as simple as that. So there is no really there's not really a secret to this. You can use any kind of palette that you wish to. Mine specifically is It's from both major school of thoughts, which is Impressionism and tonalism. And when I say Impressionism, I mean there are colorists and there are tonalists. I use both techniques because I want to, as I mentioned, whatever the painting requires, that tool I'm going to use. It's not like, oh, I know only tone and I go religiously by the tone, or I know only color and I go religiously by the color. No, I go with tone, color, perspective, linear perspective, actually atmospheric perspective, linear perspective, soft edge, hard edge, vignettes, whatever. It's a scambling, glazing, or dry brush, if you wish. I use, where did I put it? I use sandpaper to sand parts. I scrape it with a razor. I scrape it with a palette knife. I draw on top of my canvas with a charcoal. So it's just any technique that it's available to me, I'm trying to utilize, or I'm trying to use in order to get the best result. So that's how I think about it. I don't have the strict religious kind of a set in my mind that I have to use this technique and it's going to get me there. No, I don't. I don't have like, you have to start with the shadows and then you do a light, or you do a light and then you do a shadow. I don't really, there is no rules to this madness and chaos. And sometimes it works one way, sometimes it works another way. As you can see in my previous videos, whether it's on the Twitch or on the YouTube, you can see how many mistakes I did, some rash decisions, some wrong ideas that I have to repaint, some anatomy problems. There is plenty of things that can go wrong, and I look at this like as a separate universe that you have to figure it out, all the rules for yourself. So yeah, that's that. So back to my palette and back to materials. Enough of a philosophy. It's just a really. I know that most of you that are not familiar with oil painting, you would be looking at it as so many colors. Well, yes, or hues, I should rather say, but it doesn't matter for me because I look at these as on my yellows, oranges, reds, blues, and greens. And I have a titanium white and ivory black, which is not on the palette squeezed at this moment, but it's going to be there shortly. So I understand that there's a really a kind of a mindset that you have to be able to harmonize your colors, and more colors or more pigments that you introduce to your palette, the bigger problem you have to harmonize them. I don't think, I understand that, and it happens to me that I have problems with harmonizing, but it's not about the colors, it's not about the pigments, it's about how do you think about a pigment. And I'm not looking into any brand specific. I don't hand out lists of brands and lists of brushes that you need, and I'm not going to talk about that 1 part white in, I don't know, 5 part black is going to be value number 7. I can't even imagine that you would be able to do this on this scale, actually, and especially. This is just a fragment. This is going to be twice as big or 3 times as big, actually, as you see right now. Being here and having a small kind of a small palette that I have, I don't know, lay down the values for painting a portrait. I cannot imagine that. I know it's possible, perhaps. I don't know if anybody ever done that way. Probably they did in a late 18th, 19th century in France. I believe that they might have done that, but that's not how I'm able to work. that's period. I don't want to talk anything else about it. So when I said the properties of my colors, and I'm going to repeat myself over and over and over again with this, I'm looking for a hue. Hue means this is red hue, this is blue hue, this is green hue, and this is yellow hue. Then I have saturation. That means how saturated that color is. And you can see some colors are really, really bright. Some are a little bit more dull, a little bit more earthy. So you have that more advanced or younger pigments. That's are your cadmiums. And you can see this and this might be the same pigment to you on the camera, but I know that this is a cadmium red and this is vermilion. They behave differently when you mix them to other colors. So that's what I'm thinking about. Do I need saturate my pigments? That means that I want a more chroma, or do I want to desaturate it? It means that I want a less chroma. If we want to go into specifics, I know that some people love to be sticklers for the exactness, and I'm not. I would say just warmer and cooler and darker and lighter and brighter and duller probably. But you know, when I talk about the bright color, I'm talking about the chroma. When I'm talking about the lighter or darker, I'm talking about the tone and the value of that pigment on the value scale. And then not only that, I also work with transparency and opacity, which is very important. Sometimes I want a transparent color, sometimes I want an opaque color. And it all will make sense to you the more experience you will have with pigments. Because when I grab the yellow, it doesn't mean necessarily that I want to make it more yellow. It means that I want to make it more chromatic. And in order to offset, I use a little bit of white into it, so I still have some kind of and offset it. I can then vary the chroma with the white. But that's all color theory that you can get from. There's many videos. There's the professionals that they will explain to you color theory and how mix the colors and whatnot. I don't really go. I'm aware of it. I believe that I understand how to mix the colors because I did a plethora, an enormous amount of exercises with the color swatches, and it was tedious, it was annoying, and truth to be told, then I was not really sure what to do with all that knowledge. So right now I keep that knowledge as I know alphabet, so that I know how to write, and that's important for me. That's the technical stuff. It's the alphabet. You should definitely know that. You can learn that. That's not a rocket science. Trust me, it's not that difficult. There's a couple of things that you have to think of. So that's about the palette. Brushes I use, or actually let me talk about medium. Medium, it's just the simplest possible. It's a linseed oil and mineral spirits. That's all. And the idea is that you have fat overlean when you work on the already dried surface. So, but if you paint, kind of a la prima direct painting, then the paint is still wet. So it's not as important or it's not important. It is important, but it's a little bit more forgiving when you work like this. Then there are areas that they're dry. You really have to be careful how much oil versus how much mineral spirits do you have in your pigments, in your paint. Just because you want to make sure that it sticks and it doesn't peel away or dry in a different time. Depend on the layer. So that's that. And brushes, right? Brushes, cheap household brushes. I use cheap brushes because I destroy them. That's that. They're supposed to be destroyed, by the way, because they have a bristles, and when you work really when you put hours into brush, you will simply destroy it, not because you don't clean it, but because you I work on the rough canvas, so I sand it down. It works like a sandpaper, so I sand down my brushes. And the application, and that's something that you might want to enjoy. That's more like a freedom. I don't really. Sometimes I grab a palette knife and I mix the value, so I can kind of at the beginning set myself like I want this, how it's going to work, and then I'm just going to pick the colors, mix them, and place them right down. Sometimes I don't even mix the colors. I just dab it into paint and just push it on the canvas because why not? That's probably the only true answer that I have for you. It's because why not? So brushes, palette knives, sandpapers, that's all. Pigments, of course. The only thing that I would mention, and I talked about this a lot, and I should not repeat myself because this is a half an hour of same thing at the beginning of every stream. Avoid cheap paint. I have cheap brushes. Everything is cheap except the materials that are going to be that are going to be binding together. Canvas and the pigment. These are really expensive. I spent enormous amount of money for pigment, and I really put a lot of paint down on my palette because of the size of a canvas. Don't be afraid of that. And I wipe a lot of a paint. I scrape the paint. I throw it away, and that's how it is. There is a lot of waste when you paint the way that I paint. It's no other way around that. Okay, books and references: Rembrandt, Caravaggio, Velázquez, heavy hitters, Titian, always next to me. Rembrandt has probably answered every question that I ever asked about painting. So you don't need anybody else, I think, and you can study this for years and you still be in awe when you see that in person and when you try to replicate what he does. And I don't say the copy one-to-one. I am talking about the replicating. That means that these ideas that he put into his paintings. Okay, and also I have a little tablet right there that I use for digital references. That's anatomy, draperies, folds, sketches that I did. So I have it compiled in one spot because there is plenty of papers that was all over the wall, and it was a visual pollution, and it was more destructive than instructive. So that's that. I don't work from photographs, and I don't have a model right now, so most of my stuff is from the imagination and little color sketches and whatnot. So let's get right into painting. Last time I was working on the figures and figures right here, and I want to continue with this figure, and then I want to add a little bit more definition right here. And I think that's going to be that's probably the last piece of the puzzle that is missing, and that's a first layer of puzzle, when you think about it, that's just when all these faces and directions are going to be set, then I'm going to start working on the details, and I'll still walk back and forth, because no matter how small a little brush strokes or brush I use, I always double check that from the distance, because on this particular canvas, on every canvas for that matter, everything is related to each other. So whatever happens here, it's going to affect the whole painting. Believe it or not, it will. For better or for worse, it might improve or it might destroy it. And that's why you see me repainting things over and over again. You can imagine how it's going to look, but unless you put it down, you will never be able to, well, I will never be able to. I should talk about myself. I am right now at this point, and I don't think I will ever be, but at this point, I'm not capable of seeing these values right here and the relationship. Not see. I am not able to imagine how this foot is going to be painted and how it's going to affect this, and then this, and that little corner right here. I have no idea. I have no idea unless I paint it. And right now I painted it, I see it, it needs adjustment, it needs correction, but it's a right placement, it's a right direction. For this period of time and this stage of painting, I'm satisfied with. That's okay. Because before I start to painting more details right here, I need to figure it out what's happening here, because this is a focal point. I know it's there, it's placed, he's standing, that's all I need to know right now. So, yeah. Okay. Okay, I am looking at this and I'm asking myself a bunch of questions at once, and this is something that I prepared as a list of things that I want to do. And I think I'm going to start with adjusting the head that I was talking about last time, that I want to move it a little bit this direction, just a little bit, just a little bit. And I prepared myself for this, adjustments. That's what I was talking about. The idea that I am not capable of coming to a studio and start painting and mixing color immediately. I need to prepare myself. I need to evaluate, adjust. Think of what's going to happen, how I'm going to proceed, and then I'm not saying that I go exactly as I created the plan, but I'm trying to stick with it as much as possible. And I think that I need to correct this because he's looking way too much out, and I'm scraping. Scraping the pigment a little bit because I don't want to have a texture where it's not supposed to be. So I'm thinking, and actually I was thinking maybe I can give him a little bit of a tilt as well, so it just doesn't, it doesn't, you know, copy exactly but just a really, really small tilt, like really small tilt. It's almost imperceptible. I have a little reference there. I was playing with the different shapes. of head and different hairstyles. So okay. So these are small little corrections, and you might think that how is this important? Well, it's a good question. It's supposed to help composition. That's how it's important, and that's why it's important for me. 100%. Yeah, but I will have to use probably a paint right now. I'm using a really soft charcoal, willow or wine. It's probably the most common. A little tilt, yeah, I'll have to. And I have it way too high. So it has to go lower. So let's see, maybe I should grab thinking. Little tilt, little towards me more. slowly but surely. And since most of these portraits are invented, I'm not really that careful with a like specific features. I'm just looking for a generic human being right now, because for the final painting I will have to call models, and I will work with models, live models. Okay, let me mix a little bit of color right now. So I'm really looking for a overall shape right now, value, and it seems way too bright right now and kind of out of place. But that's okay. At this stage, I don't need anything super specific. I just need to make sure that I have that I work with the right or rather correct size and proportions, and I hope at the end it's going to look like a human head. Not hope, I know it's going to look like a human head, but the question is whether or not it's going to be interestingly, or whether or not it's going to be whether or not that head will represent the emotion that I want it to represent. Looking for a different brush. I need to check it in the mirror if the tilt is right. It seems that it's okay, and I need to bring a little bit more of a that's the one. to move this a little bit more this direction. This is where the center of that I would like to have. Okay. Yep. And this is probably, when you look at the way how I apply the paint and move with the brush, this is why I don't necessarily buy expensive brushes, because I really abuse them. I mean, seriously, this is just... You might think that, oh, but there's just too much red going in there, and you were absolutely right. It's way too much red going in there, but that's the reason for that. In my head, especially, I want to really show that they've been walking a while under the sun. So I want to show a little bit of that sunburn. I'm checking also when I'm painting something like this, it might look grotesque. I understand that. I'm aware of it, but I want to push. I want to quickly, very quickly, in the, you know, kind of a it's like a quick sketch. I just wanna capture a certain feeling of that figure. I'm not really interested in like 100% accuracy of every brush stroke. And the reason is that I want to create a feeling right now of that roughness, the difficult stage of their life, because after all, these are, you know, was not really a very pleasant time to live. Even though we might like to say good old days, but these are these are definitely not good old days, 100%. These are old days, but not good old days, especially for travelers from far, far away. Okay, I need a little more of a kind of a and I'm not necessarily interested in painting the eyes right now. I'm just painting shape. And that shape needs to really work well in order for me to proceed. And another thing is about the details. I cannot put a lot of details here right now because, as you might know from your own experience, I want to bring the most attention to this face right here and this face right here. So this is all going to set, and then I'm going to I can send it down, I can adjust it, and I'm going to play with all these layers of paint that are underneath there to make that kind of a cool layering effect between scumbling and glazing and sanding, and I really want to exhaust every possible technique in order to get that really cool effect. And I'm thinking maybe right now when I'm looking at it, he should have that kind of a hair of that kind of a monks, the very standard one. So let's see how's that going to work. Front side. Let's hit it. The other side. I'm forgetting they have like a little in the middle. Then I don't want him to end up looking like a clown, but he's looking like a clown right now. That's okay. That's fine. I'm exploring possibilities since I'm working from imagination and some sketch references. I don't really mind that much. I don't remember exactly how. Short or long should it be? But again, I'm thinking that they are on the road. They started properly adjusted for monks, and by the time they get to a place where it's supposed to be, there's going to be some hair left and right, I think. And this is a background color. Missing a shadow underneath the nose, so I should probably put that in. Might be a little too dark. Right, and maybe let's put a little. So I know where the mouth is going to sit. making a couple adjustments to the tilt. Okay. I'm looking for, I'm asking myself about these proportions, whether or not they are correct. Maybe if I push this a little bit more in to get a little bit more tilt. Let's see. And then let me just paint the nose because it really bothers me that it's not there. And I know that I told you that it's just a fun and loose, but right now I am struggling to measure things properly. So I have a nose. Okay. And again, these are just a placeholders. So I don't really fuss about this that much. I don't care about the perfect drawing, perfect proportions. And I know that this is counterintuitive to do this way. And the only reason why I'm doing this way is that I wanted to have that quick expression laid down, like that freedom, that flow of that kind of a thought, kind of a loose sketch. And it's really, really loose. I did not really think about anything else, just a feeling of how rough is he supposed to be, and how bad the conditions were for them. And in order to do that, I need to, and this is something that I struggled a lot during my students' days, just let go of certain things. It was just so, I was so restrained, so afraid to place and put down the paint and just have fun, only because only because I was afraid that I'm going to, oh, I spent so much time with this precious drawing and right now I'm going to cover it, so I'm going to be slowly applying a paint. And then there is nothing wrong with it. I absolutely support you if you paint that way. What I'm trying to say is just try to let loose for fun. There's nobody's going to see it. Nobody's ever going to see how wrong this is at this stage. So don't worry about that. There are ways to correct it. This is oil painting after all. So oil, that's never, oil does not have end. You can paint over as much as you want. Just try not to lose that freshness and liveliness when you start correcting it. Just and another thing is it's under a really weird angle, so in your camera, so it might look even worse, and it's okay. I don't really care. Don't really care at this stage. I should. I know that I should. I know this is a painting that I should care about deeply because it's going to be I will have to display it, and therefore I should be mindful. But I want to also not be restrained with I don't want to be restrained at the beginning of this portrait, because I want to capture, when you draw, they always teach you that there's a gesture, and that's important. And I'm thinking of this first stage as a, I just wanted to quickly capture gesture. I had a feeling. And I wanted to move my brush in my hand this direction, so I did. And if it's wrong, that's okay. I'll correct it. I'll have plenty of time to correct my mistakes. I think it's way easier to correct existing mistakes. And that's why I say that my work is mostly 95% mistakes, because it's easier for me to correct the mistake that I see than just trying to visualize what's not there. I'm playing with the hairstyle a little bit, so it helps that kind of overall feel, and it helps, and when I say overall feel, I mean mostly I want to help my composition, so I don't want it to be same all over the place. So I have this, I have a little bit of here. Let me soften this edge. And I'm keeping everything very soft and loose, because I don't need precise, exact painting right now with all the eyelashes and whatnot. I just want to have a little bit of a should go a little higher here. So I push that and cut it down there. Okay. I'm stepping all the way back um, into my studio, and I need to really observe this from a distance and evaluate everything that happened there. And ask myself whether or not it's working or it doesn't work, it's good or do I like it? And if there is something that I feel that it's not right, I can tell with certainty that it is not right. If you have a little concern, if there's like a little something in your head is telling you that this doesn't seem right, 9 times out of 10, I would even say in my case 10 out of 10 times, I have to change it. And I think I could put a little bit more of that shadow there. So let's see. But again, I don't want to overpower that because I know that it should have more detail, more shadow, more this, more that. But again, I don't want to go destroy the focal point. So let me do a little adjustment. Okay, well that's really, really red. I feel like this might be sticking a little too much out. So I created this abstract art right here, and I'm going to right now shape it into a portrait. I think I can push this even further in to make him look little skinnier. So I really play with that idea of them being travelers. So, little shadow. I'm sorry, excuse me, half tone, so I get the separation of the nose. And I should maybe push it a little lower. Okay. Change this to a half tone rather than just a shadow because it's sticking out way too much. And let me push this a little bit. So I have a clear border between the nose and the cheek. just put a little bit of a lighter part right here. So I'm slowly connecting it and disconnecting it and moving left and right, and I'm checking the mirror to see if it works. And I think I pushed this eye way too low. So I will lift it a little bit. Okay. And you might see that I'm using really a dark pigment. And the reason is because I have paint already on the canvas. So at the moment when they mix together, it's going to get a little lighter. Okay. Maybe I could push this a little darker. This shadow right here I can push. Just going to shape a nose, or his nose rather. And again, double check with the mirror for a symmetry. Well, it's kind of working. I still feel like I should fix this a little bit. So let's just put this right here at the corner of the right here, so I want to show a little bit of that eyelid. That might be a little too much, but no worries, I can always, again, correct it. And if you remember, half an hour ago, it looked like a abstract expressionistic face. And the idea was just to feel my way around with the paint. How do I want to approach this? How do I want to push this? Where do I want to push this? And it's still not correct. It still doesn't have a. It still doesn't feel like it belongs to the painting because it's painted a little bit of a different style. So you can see this is painted differently than this, and completely different than this. And this is a experiment. So I'm trying to find which one of these paint application work better for this particular painting. And this is something that I would like you to think of when you work on your personal work, that I am not trying to copy, I don't know, I like the work of Rembrandt. I'm not trying to copy a Rembrandt. I am inspired by his work. And you can see that he, throughout his life, worked differently. And I heard the ideas that he evolved, and I don't know if he evolved or he just felt that he has to apply a paint differently later in his life compared to his early work. And right now I see the different effects, I see the different paint application, I see different brush handling on the same canvas, and I can decide which one do I like. And when I say which one do I like, it's the which one represents, which one is the best way for me to communicate ideas. So I have not only composition that should communicate, you have symbols that are communicating, and then also you have a, for me especially, you have paint application. And like I said, open the Rembrandt and compare his early work with his late work. He just decided to paint differently because he needed to communicate the feeling of, or he needed to communicate different emotion That's how I look at his work. I see a heaviness and sadness in late works of his, and kind of a naivete and that kind of a polishness in his early work, because he was trying to be as precise as possible. And then he realized that, oh, well, who cares? His his patrons probably did, but he didn't. And truth to be told, that's something that I admire at his work. That boldness at his later years. It almost feels like he decided that he said to himself, I'm done with this. I don't want to satisfy patrons anymore. I want to satisfy and express my feelings. And I think it was the right move. Because there is always that kind of another part of the painting is that technique that you use. Because painting in the style of, I don't know, Raphael, painting in this, how would I'm trying to form a sentence. It's probably, I can't probably put it into one sentence. So think of a Raphael and his beautiful, polished, smooth, heavenly-like paintings. Well, he painted religious figures. I don't think that would work with someone like what's the name? Who am I thinking? A very famous painter that painted these women working on the field, and you can see the roughness in the canvas because the work was rough, the life was rough. Beautiful, polished, rendered, Raphael-like ideal composition, measurements and whatnot, geometry would not work in that particular setup. I think it would not work. And that's why I chose different paint application, different ideas, just to see what works and what doesn't. And then, you know, at the end, if I do not like it, I can always repaint it, right? So who cares? Just want to finish a couple more things, and I think that will be it for today, because make sure that I have that eye in the right position. Maybe to push it a little higher. I don't know if you can hear it, but hopefully not. I'm in a historical city center, and there is a lot of street artists, and they're playing all kinds of instruments. So I hope it's not interfering with the microphone. Okay, I'm not going to work more on this part, because I'm starting to go into details, and I don't want to do that. I just want to keep it in this stage for now. So from the list of things that I assigned myself today to do, I accomplished 100 of the plan. Almost nothing. And that's okay. Okay, I'm gonna stop right here, right now. I placed the portrait there. Right now I leave it as it is. I have to evaluate what to do next. Probably the portraits in the background. But like I said, this was not about precise one beautiful portrait. I just wanted to work with paint and let the paint do what it wants. The overlapping of the paint, I used a little bit more impasto right now, because I really wanted to see how far I can push it with kind of a sketchy or impressionistic or even expressionistic. Even at the beginning it looked like that. So I have some kind of a contrast, something to work with in terms of choices that will increase. I don't even know how to say it. And I'm right now. I feel like I'm at the edge of my own understanding of what I'm trying to say. It's not fully formed and fully developed idea, but for now, I want to see different paintings or different painting styles so I can choose the appropriate one. That's probably where I would leave you for today. And I hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye.